Hi, hello. Welcome to Levels Plus Whenever, episode 65. Good thing I changed the name since I've been gone for a month and a half. Needed a break. Needed a nice little October and a half of just not doing much. I have a drive that just constantly pushes me to continue doing things like at all times to my detriment. So it was good to just pull away for a bit, enjoy playing Splatoon, and finish up a book, and then not work on any books for a bit. And I've been doing a lot of great art, which you can check out on my art blog. But I am ready to begin doing videos once more. For this episode, I want to talk about Street Fighter 6, finally. But I also have so many pickups that I think we will have that be the other half of the episode. So let's do the pickups first. Alright, it took me a while to figure out what I have acquired since I last recorded. But I think I got it all. First and foremost, I have a 8th book that I have published. So this webcomic, the Complete-ish Collection. This was actually one of the aforementioned art projects and book that I accomplished over many months. This actually started over like April, May, and compiling it all just took a while. But as you can see, it is just dense with material. This is the biggest book I've published yet. It's almost 500 pages. And it's kind of amazing seeing all of the work I've done on Snow Dragon, and so this webcomic and these characters just in a physical form, which is why I wanted to do it. The cover as well, I'm very happy with, having it be double-sided with all the characters hanging out. So I'm really happy about that. I don't remember if I said I got this amiibo around the time I got Splatoon 3, but I got this amiibo around the time of Splatoon 3. I got the Mega Drive Mini 2 from Japan. I haven't had much of a chance to goof around with it too much yet. I also got the latest Ninja Turtles game in physical form, and it's extremely good. It is easily the best Ninja Turtles game of all time, which says a lot because Konami did a great job when they had the run back in the late 80s, early 90s. But Tribute just managed to pay perfect homage to those games, and at the same time evolving the concepts just enough to make it much deeper, much more enjoyable, and it's a visual, oral, and gameplay feast. So I'm really pleased with how this game turned out, and it's definitely something I'm thinking about for Game of the Year stuff at the end. Also got the rest of my Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Special Edition stuff from Nintendo. I love this art. I think it's really rad. But on the back, there's also like this really cool like landscape that is really, really nice. And I actually have that normally up high on my little background here that you don't normally see. So I pulled it down. It came with a steel book case. So I transferred the game into it. So that's what's now hanging out on my shelf. And then it also came with the art book, which is really, really nice, but I haven't really looked through it because I have fallen off of playing this and I need to get back into it. However, the real excitement of this part of the pickups is I got my Pocky and Rocky Reshrined box after a month of waiting. So I'm going to open the box and we are going to do it live. I've opened the box. First things first, is the Rocky plush. Here he is. It's adorable. Really, really, really cute. Oh my god. So I feel like I had to get the special edition with the plush for Pocky and Rocky because Tango Project's games have just all been spectacular, and I've been kicking myself over not getting the Ninja Saviors one because I didn't know about it in time. But now that I was able to get Pocky and Rocky, which I'm very happy about, I skipped Wild Guns because I already had played it, and while I like Wild Guns a lot, it is not one that I felt like, gee, I need to have the entire special edition. But I did for Pocky and Rocky. So here's the box that it came in, which I'm probably not going to keep the slipcase for. And then it's got a, as Strictly Limited likes to do, a little fold up flap in the front, and that opens up. So we will go through everything really fast. So it came with a little chime based on Sayo-chan, aka Pocky's cards that she throws. We've got an acrylic stand, which I will assemble at the end. A little charm that has the logo on the back. A little coin that has Pocky on one side and Rocky on the other. A soundtrack, and what I've heard of the soundtrack is spectacular, so I'm very excited to get that going. A pin of the logo, and some postcards. So we've got a continue screen, we've got the goblins running off with the gods, we've got what I think is a title screen homage there, and then just Pocky Rocky Reshrined with some of the art. We got some stickers of all of the major characters. There was a lot in here. We've got a poster, which I am very excited to hang up. It's basically the same on both sides, just one side is yellow and the other side is blue. So that will be going up on my wall at some point. And then there's, of course, the game. So I need to unwrap all of this stuff, so let me do that off camera and we'll be right back. Alright, so here is the assembled acrylic. So this is number 2,900 of 2,999, and it also comes with a manual. I am extremely happy to have all of the Pocky and Rocky stuff. I am super pumped to finally give this game a shot, and I've always been a fan of Sayo-chan since I've run into her games, and it's just great to be able to have all this neat stuff that reflects one of Taito's more prolific properties that they have had very little to do with. Natsume, Atari have actually done more with Pocky and Rocky than, or Kikikakai, as it's known in Japan, than Taito has. Taito did the original arcade game and the Famicom port and the TurboGrafx port, and Natsume has pretty much done everything else. So, just a fun little fact. Welcome back. As promised, it's the next day, and I have a few more pickups that I just went and got from Best Buy. So I've got Tactics Ogre Reborn. Hard to believe that finally became reality. And I also got the new Splatoon 3 amiibo. So here's Small Fry, which is a really cool amiibo. Probably the best of the splattering ink up in the air type. But the Inkling amiibo is fantastic. The detail on the bow is really impressive. Like, you can actually see the individual strings there. And then the Octoling is also really good. I'm thinking that the Splatoon 3 amiibo might be the best of the standard playable character variety. So I will be looking forward to getting those into Splatoon 3 and getting their costume unlocks. The last thing I got, which won't be here till next weekend, but it is a capture card. Alright, due to circumstances beyond my control, i.e. getting sick, this video is taking a little bit longer than I anticipated, so I can add to my pickup tally the capture card that I mentioned. And I thought instead of just talking about it, I would actually show it off. So here's me. It's me running around in Splatoon 3 for a little bit. Spent some time last night fine-tuning everything, and the quality seems pretty solid now. I don't have any sound on at the moment because there's background music in Levels Plus Whenever. But it's going to be really exciting to be able to do my own video content for games instead of having to rely so much on other people. So just wanted to touch base real quick on that latest development. We'll jump into the Street Fighter 6 portion right after a brief intermission. Let's finally, after months of talking about Street Fighter 6, actually do the talking. So we have gotten a lot of details since the game was announced. Unfortunately, Capcom had a pretty sizable leak take place not too far after the game's announcement, which basically revealed all of the character art. So Capcom made the decision recently to just share what all the characters are, but we haven't seen many of them in gameplay yet. So what you see in front of you is the launch roster. At the moment, we've got two brand new characters that we've seen in gameplay, which is Jamie and Kimberly, who are right next to Luke. Luke is the protagonist, quote unquote, of Street Fighter 6. I think he looks a lot better in 6 than he did in 5. In terms of returning characters that we've seen gameplay of, we've got Ryu and Ken, we've got Chun-Li, we've got Juri and Guile and Dalzim, Honda and Blanca. So that just leaves 3 characters up here that we know are returning, which is Zangief, who is the original World Warrior, not making the jump so far in terms of a gameplay reveal. Cammy, who has a drastic and awesome redesign. I love how she looks in 6. And DJ, who's also gotten a pretty notable upgrade in his design. And then we have these new characters, which I'm not going to talk about too much yet. Their names have been released to the wild, but since I haven't seen them in motion, I don't really have any attachment to any of them as of this point. So I'm going to just be patient and wait for more details to show. The art style for 6 is incredible. So I just want to take a moment to show how good it is in contrast to what I feel 5 was doing. I feel like 6 has an identity all of its own, and I love it. It is so good. It just really captures Street Fighter to me in a way that I felt like 5 was chasing after 4. It also evolves the graphic design into a more realistic space, but at the same time, I don't necessarily feel like it's lost its animation / anime roots. I feel like these characters are Street Fighter characters. I will go on record right now, which I think I have done on the blog itself, but I just didn't like the art style for 4 and 5. I especially did not like 5. I felt that it just wasn't what I envisioned Street Fighter to look like. It made everybody really large. I think that's one of the reasons why I like 6, is that even though Ryu is still a brick house, he doesn't, like, the entire cast doesn't match him. There's some body differentiation that I just didn't feel 5 did very well. And I just like this look. I think it's fantastic. The hip-hop aesthetic that they're going for is really, really good. And really, really, really fantastic. Capturing the essence of iconic characters, as well as bringing out the personalities and visual hooks of the new characters. I want to talk about Kimberly in particular, who is the most incredible new character in Street Fighter, I think. Since arguably Jury, I don't really think any Street Fighter V character that was unique to that game stood out as a really compelling, strong, cool design to me. But Kimberly, right out the gate, evolves the Bushin Ninja aesthetic beautifully and gives a woman of color a shining opportunity to show off a drastically overhauled moveset style that has always felt limiting despite how freeform it is. And she just takes like everything that Guy and Maki and Zeku had brought to the table and mixes them all up with her own technique, her own flair. The graffiti component of her moveset is really well done. Fantastic character. I really, really like Kimberly a lot. Jamie is also a fantastic design. Street Fighter has never had a drunken master character in its history, so Jamie is filling that role and he's doing it extremely well, and it's a showcase of how far Capcom's tech has come. Naselli, I think that's how his name was pronounced in 5, was trying to do this hair tech and it didn't look good. Jamie is doing a much better job of showing off hair in Street Fighter 6 thanks to the more powerful RE engine. But his moveset gets better the more he is able to take a sip from his not alcohol, because they're not calling it alcohol. And then we have the returning cast. Chun-Li is actually more technical than she has ever been. She actually can switch stances in this game. So that's going to be very interesting to be able to try to figure out how to best handle situations with her. Ken has gotten a lot of new techniques, a lot of new kicks. He's got a new overhead kind of cross-up kick, which is great, and his new supers look fantastic. Ryu, of course, he's pretty traditional, but even he, the most traditional of Street Fighter characters, has a drastic new look. Love this new design of Ryu. I think it's arguably the best look Ryu's had, because the rest of his looks were classic based, other than costumes in 4 and 5. But I'm just glad that they were like, you know what, Ryu doesn't need to be in the white gi from top to bottom all the time anymore. I think that's a really strong sign that they're paying respect to these designs, but at the same time they are unafraid of doing something to show that they're not the same character that they were back in 1991 when Street Fighter 2 came out. Ryu's also got some new techniques with his fireballs that I think is very interesting. And what's cool is that all the characters have new wrinkles to themselves. So Blanca now can throw Blanca-chan dolls. Dhalsim's got some new Yoga Fire techniques. Guile, he's got some brand new Sonic Boom tech that he's not had before. Juri incorporates her 4 and 5 movesets into one solid and sinister moveset, but she also has some new stuff as well to make sure that she's not just missing out. Luke is probably the closest to his Street Fighter V appearance, but at the same time he looks a lot better in 6 and has a lot more flow going on to him. And then Honda as well has new stuff in his repertoire, but he's the one who's actually seen the least. So I'm not really sure how much he's changed in contrast to some of the others, but I know that he's got some new grabs, I want to say. So that just makes me really excited to see where they're going to take everybody else. How is Cammy going to be different beyond drastic redesign where she actually has freaking pants? Is Zangief going to continue being a dominating grappler, or is he going to get more tools to help him get close, like with his green hand and his lariat? And DJ, how is he going to evolve? How is his kickboxing focused style going to change to make him a little less of a Guile-like and more of his own thing? And then all of the new characters, what are they going to bring? What are they going to bring to Street Fighter? So I wanted to show some gameplay. This is from the original beta, and this is from Maximilian Dude's channel, so huge props to Max for getting 4K footage of the game and sharing it so people could watch the matches. The way this game looks is really stunning, outside of some background elements. We've got Andore back there who just looks really early still. His hair doesn't look great, his face doesn't look great, so I'm hoping that that gets better as we get closer to release. We've still got a few months to go. But the backgrounds on the whole, outside of a couple little background elements here and there, look really good. But of course, the main show is the characters themselves. And I think the thing that really stands out about Street Fighter VI is that there's just a lot of attention that has been put into these characters that really make them reflect their huge histories, but also allowing them to grow and be more than just, I'm Ryu, I always do Fireball, Dragon Punch, and Hurricane Kick. Another big change to Street Fighter VI, as you can see, are all of these technical moves that you can do, which are drive moves. So you've got a drive parry, a drive rush. I forget what they're all called off the top of my head, but the drive meter is a huge component of this game. You can see the meters right under the life bar. We just got to see Ryu's critical art. You can make your level 3 get a little extra damage if you are low on life and your super meter at the bottom is maxed out. But there's 4 of these techniques, and all of them change the way that the moment-to-moment gameplay takes place, and basically adds a lot of strategy. As you can see, Ryu pulled out one of the drive moves that basically gives you some armor. But if you pull your move out right after them with a good read, you'll be able to break through it and use yours. So there's some risk and reward here for using these moves. The parry is one way to build your meter back up, but if you use it too much on its own and it doesn't land, you're going to lose it. You could see that Chun-Li there was what's called burned out. And when a character is burned out, they can't use their drive meter at all, and they're actually a little bit slower, and their animation even changes. The returning characters actually revert their pose back to an earlier game when they're burned out, which I think is an incredible touch of attention, paying legacy to these characters. But everyone's got their own stuff going on. So like I said, Chun-Li now has 2 stances. So she's not just stuck as, traditional Chun-Li with her fireball and her lightning legs. I'm not using the Japanese names for these moves because I don't want to mispronounce them. And her spinning bird kick. She's got a lot more going on, and she can flip-flop between 2 stances where her normals change. And there will be advantages to both stances. I haven't seen a lot of Chung gameplay outside of these early trailers. She's been kind of overshadowed, I think, because she is more technical, and for a short-term demo, getting into the weeds of how she works takes a little bit more time. As we just saw, Chun-Li has multiple supers. Everybody's got 3 supers again. Which was another strike that I had against 4 and 5, was that instead of coming up with a really strong reason to evolve from Street Fighter 3, I really felt like Street Fighter 4 and 5 hampered the characters' abilities by limiting their supers. You have 3 supers, a level 1, a level 2, and a level 3, and they each do different stuff. Some are for buffs and such. Some give you buffs even if they're attacks. Kimberly's level 3 is a great example. If you land her level 3, she gets a buff through the rest of the time the match continues. So it actually is a benefit to land that level 3 early in the first round if possible. So you can continue to have her playing her music and jamming out and getting into the zone. That makes her a better fighter as early as you can. So there's a lot of risk-reward in this game. And it's not quite as footsie driven as 4 was, which was one of my problems. Combos seem to be a little bit easier to connect in this game. But there are some limitations. I don't think you can connect a special into a super as easily. You have to have really good timing, but it's something that you can do. And then there's other things that make this game far more interesting. So being in the corner, for example, is not great if you get hit with a drive impact, I want to say, because that, even if you block it, the impact of that move will knock you backwards, and if you're in the corner, you will bounce off the wall and be stunned. So that gives that move more technicality. Another cool thing is that there are perfect versions of all these drive moves. So you can get a perfect parry, or you can get a perfect impact, because you read the opponent so well that the game rewards you by doing a better version of the move that basically gives you very, very good frame advantage. Ultimately, Street Fighter 6 is just what I've wanted from the series since 3, and I just didn't get from 4 or 5. It's truly a game I'm excited about in a way that I can't say I've been excited about Street Fighter in over a decade. Street Fighter 4 just did not land for me. And I'll go ahead and share a link in the description of me talking about how I felt about Street Fighter 4 and the early days of Street Fighter 5, and how the last season pass was starting to show a shift at how Capcom's fighting division was handling this series. I will go on record right now, and I will say that I feel that Ono was a big factor for why I fell out of Street Fighter. I didn't really care for what he was bringing to the table. And I really feel like 5 was his hubris in a lot of ways, because 4 managed to succeed and capture a lot of people's attention, despite not resonating with me. 5 was not an evolution of what 4 brought. It was really just an iteration that was not finished when it came out, and it didn't look good for Capcom to have an unfinished game be $60 with a bunch of paid fight money related content that you had to buy to actually get stuff out of it. It really just was Capcom at its absolute worst several years ago. And 6 is a stark contrast to that. You get a full roster, you're getting a bunch of modes, including a really cool in-depth story mode that I haven't even touched on. You get to make your own character as Street Fighter 6 to be in story mode and adapt them with the various movesets of the characters in the game to be able to create your own Street Fighter character with their own moveset based on what they've learned. It's a really cool concept that I'm very excited about. I love World Tour mode in Street Fighter Alpha 3, and this is a proper sequel to that I just didn't expect Capcom to ever return to. The training hub, or the battle hub I want to say, looks interesting. You get to play old Capcom games, hang out with your peeps or with competitors, set up matches, and basically goof around with your custom avatar to basically create lobbies and such. It's a really bold invention of trying to figure out how can we make the lobby component of fighting games more interesting, more compelling, and more true to the fans. Will it work? We'll find out in a few months, but I think it's a really interesting decision that's a lot more of a bold invention than a lot of other lobbies for fighting games have been. I am pretty pumped. I want to play this game. I am very excited. It actually might be what gets me to get a PlayStation 5 when it comes out next year, which is not unusual. I have bought systems for Capcom fighting games in the past. I bought a Dreamcast for Marvel vs. Capcom and Street Fighter Alpha 3. I bought a PS3 to play Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and I might buy a PS5 to get Street Fighter 6. So this is not unusual. I love Capcom's fighting games when they click for me. There's quite a few on my top 111. They're just, I think, the best at this genre. I just can't wait to give this a go and see if it actually connects with me in a way that I haven't felt with a Capcom fighting game since Ultimate vs. Capcom 3. Now, to end this episode, I wanted to show off actual gameplay with the new capture card, because that's going to drastically change how this YouTube channel is going to be moving forward. One of the biggest limitations that I've had as a creator doing YouTube content is the fact that I couldn't capture anything outside of my PC screen. So when I talked about like Splatoon 3, for example, I had to rely on Nintendo's own trailers or streamers' streams. All that being said, how is this going to evolve Levels Plus in terms of its video content? Well, we're going to be able to do features with video that I used to write, but it didn't really feel like it was the best method to do some of these features. I'm going to be doing my top 111 in video format. So those will be short, probably a minute long video series that I will have a separate playlist for. That I'm just going to talk about, hey, these are my top 111 games. I just revised the list. And I'm in the middle of uploading a bunch of banners for it. The videos will go under the banners. The banners will be used in the video itself. I think on the whole, it's going to look really nice to be able to say, this is what I feel about this game while you actually get to see it. And I'm going to, I think, have a stronger emotional reaction. And you're going to be able to hear that. So that's kind of project-wise where I'm mentally at for some Levels Plus content. So I have to start figuring out, well, what is Levels Plus in terms of a blog? Is it going to have written content? Do I have the time, the energy to do that? Or is it evolving into more of a video format? And I will only really be posting art and the occasional like update to the virtual or the Switch Online apps, which I'm also a little behind. I haven't done 3 and 64 games. So yeah, I have some thoughts about where Levels Plus is going. I'll probably talk about that in the near future. But I want to try these ideas out, see how they go. And I just wanted to be transparent about what's going on. between working on books, which is another reason why Levels Plus content is reduced a bit, is that I've been doing a lot less writing for the blog because I've been writing books instead. So there's just a lot of things going on in my head in terms of where the blog's going and how I want it to be. But we'll talk about that in another episode. I'm going to try to get another episode pulled together for Thanksgiving weekend, so look forward to that. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving if you celebrate it in America. And we will see you in the very near future. Thank you for watching. I always appreciate you. Take care.